Alright, hello and welcome to our first test match with Dimir control. We're going to keep... I don't think this hand's bad. It's not great. I can already tell you that personally, from off-camera matches, I am not a huge fan of this deck. Not because I think it's bad. I don't. I don't think it's bad. We're going to just play Swamp here first and pass the turn. I don't know what Plains Go could signal. Maybe... Sliver deck with no one drop, or just some kind of slow deck. But I'm not sure. Plains Go again. Okay. I guess it's some kind of token strategy. They're just gonna like join the ranks after. So here I have a choice. I could go Augur of Bolas, or I could go Dimir Signet. And I think I kind of think I want to go Dimir Signet, but I think Augur of Bolas is probably better in this position. The reason I was thinking of going Dimir Signet is so if I draw another 2-drop, I could go Augur of Bolas into the 2-drop, or if I draw... Alright, that's a good one. Or if I draw... or if I draw... If I want to go... I'm losing my train of thought, jeez. If I go Chainer's Edict, then the same turn as Augur of Bolas, but that didn't happen. Alright. Trips Plains. Opponent didn't do anything at the end of turn, so maybe they kept a hand where they're a 2-color deck, but they have no cards of the other color. Sunlance. Okay. That's fine. Echoing Decay. I really don't want to use the Polluted Mine. I guess I can use the Mortuary Mine now, because I kind of like putting the Augur of Bolas back on top. So I'm going to put that back on top. And I'm going to play Dimir Signet and pass the turn. So yeah, the reason I personally don't like this deck is I feel like it just doesn't do enough. It doesn't draw enough cards in a single turn. Like, cantripping is really cool and card selection is really cool, but I feel like that's just not enough to really justify things. My other problem with the deck is it doesn't have a lot of ways to reoccur Gurmag Angler, which is your main win condition, which has been really like tediously annoying. And you don't have any other win conditions other than that, except after board when you bring in Stormbound guys, but that's been neither here nor there. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go Augur of Bolas, and I'm gonna hold up Doomblade. Looks like we're up against White Weenie, but my opponent kept a really bad hand. Alright, so we're 2 Gurmag Anglers down. And I'm just going to go Preordain here. I'm going to keep both. I'm going to keep the Probe and the Counterspell, actually. Just in case my opponent randomly goes Swamp Duress, I'm going to put the Probe in my hand first. I probably should not do that. And then, yeah. So, here's what's going to happen. I can't really stop my opponent from going Journey to Nowhere as many times as they want to. So I kind of have to wait until I can go Gurmag Angler and leave up a couple of counterspells, or until my opponent is empty-handed and I have counterspell up. So it's going to take quite a bit of time to get set up. Meanwhile, if something does not go according to plan, my opponent is going to get to do whatever they want. Alright, so I'm going to take 2, fair enough. I wanted to leave up Echoing Decay in case my opponent goes Battle Screech and then flashes it back. That's why I didn't go Chainer's Edict, but okay. Well, there's another good reason I didn't go Chainer's Edict, I guess. I didn't expect that, but thankfully I played around it without even knowing. Excuse me. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and Doomblade this fool. Draw a Counterspell, and then we'll go ahead and Chainer's Edict, leaving up Counterspell and Echoing Decay. And I'm going to attack for 1 because the cool thing about White Weenie is you never have to worry about haste creatures. I don't even know if there is a white creature in Magic with haste. I think the only creatures that actually have haste in Magic are red, and I think there's like a couple of green ones. But I'm not too certain of that. Okay. Equip, sure. I could Echoing Decay it, but I can also just block, so they don't really think there's a point. Like, Me winning this game is not based on whether or not the Augur of Bolas gets to attack 19 more times. I don't think. Okay. So let's go ahead and probe here with Kicker. So you already draw 3. Okay, you have to target the player that you want to make discard. So you could actually make yourself discard more cards. I guarantee you that was just because at the time that this was printed, Deflection was still in standard. Okay, so we're definitely able to discard Forbidden Alchemy. And I think I have to discard the Preordained because I need more blue mana, considering I have 2 counterspells. And I have enough going on with the Forbidden Alchemy now in my graveyard that I'm not going to need that second Preordain. There's a Journey. Opponent didn't want to use it on my Augur of Bolas, which is perfectly understandable. But yeah, so, you know, you're seeing kind of how this deck runs. And another thing that I personally, okay, this does not mean that I think this deck is bad. This does not mean I think the person who built this deck is wrong. So don't take it that way. I'm going to block the crap out of this 5-1 right now. I personally don't like relying on this card so much in this deck because you need so many of your cards to actually win the game. So, alright, since my opponent's living off the top, we're just going to go ahead and delve away a few cards. Like 1, 2, and that's it. Leaving up Counterspell. And we should have this game. I mean, my opponent would have to have 4 Journey to Nowhere main deck and draw all of them, which I highly doubt is going to happen. One big problem, though, is they have 2 Bone Splitters in play. So any creature they play is going to be able to become big enough for Gurmag Angler to actually get there. I did not want to counterspell the 3-man Inspector because I can just Echo Indicate or Doomblade it on my turn. They chose to draw a card with their Clue and Bricked, which is good. So I should be able to win this game, but I'm willing to believe anything at this point. Yeah, I'm going to Echoing Decay. The reason Echoing Decay is because Core Sky Fisher is a card, Razor Golem's a card, lots of cards are cards, I suppose. So go ahead and attack for 5 and pass turn. Now, another problem that we're running into this particular game is 2 of my Gurmag Anglers are already on the bottom of the deck. And I have no way of actually shuffling my deck. So, they're there forever until or unless the game goes long enough, but thankfully it didn't. So Thorn of the Black Rose is pretty good, because this is actually a deck where Evankar's Justice does work. It's also pretty good just because it sits there and blocks. Now the one problem that it does have is the fact that they're playing Sunlets, but they might take those out. I'm going to bring in the Prohibits, and cards to take out are Probes because they're not very good. Chainer's Edict is not great because they play cards like 3-man Inspectors and whatnot, and that just doesn't really get anywhere. And we could also take out a Forbidden Alchemy for a Stormbound Geist just to have a win condition in the air, but I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm just going to keep it the way it is for now. And we'll see how that works when it comes back. Okay, so, I don't know why that minimized itself, but we're going to keep... This hand is particularly really, really good against White Meanie, because I have a Disfigure, I have a Tragic Slip, and I have a Dimir Aqueduct to, let's see if... No, not that. See, nope, that... Oh, nope, that was right. See if my opponent put that card on top. They did, okay. And I also have a Aqueduct to cast both of my Augur Boluses. Speaking of which, I have 2 Augur Bolus. I also now have Chainer's Edict, which is pretty good. Opponent didn't have a 1-drop, which is also great for me. They did keep a card on top, so I highly doubt they don't have a second land. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. I'll go ahead and Disfigure here. And that's actually perfect, but here I'm just going to Dimir Aqueduct. I think I'm just going to cycle this Baron more too, since I don't really need it anymore. And we'll return this and pass turn. Counterspell is pretty good, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be using Counterspell for a little while. Opponent drew a second land off the top. Pretty lucky. Squadron Hawk is going to make them unmulligan. Again, pretty lucky, which is also going to make this Chainer's Edict just pretty bad. And hard on my life because I can't actually block with Augur of Bolas anymore. So we'll go ahead and Augur first, though. Hopefully find Evenkar's Justice soon. Find Prohibit and Doomblade. I think Doomblade's probably going to be better because we're going to be sort of tapping out for a little bit. And I think removal spells are more valuable than counter spells in this particular matchup at this time. Since I already have a counter spell, and I don't have a reason to want to counter Journey to Nowhere right now, so I think getting the Doomblade's probably going to help better in the long run. That's perfectly fine because I can block it. I guess you could get Prohibit because you want to counter Bone Splitter, but I don't think that that's really an issue. I could Tragic Slip this Squadron Hawk, but I don't think there's a point in that right now. Okay, well there's Gurmag Angler. So let's go ahead and play another Augur. Again, looking for Evenkar's Justice or Echoing Decay at this point. Find another counterspell. It's not terrible. And I guess we'll just go ahead and play this island past the turn. Kind of want more blue in play right now. Good thing about this double Augur too is that I can double block the Loyal Cathar. Which is a good thing. Another big gripe I have about this, like I know I keep having gripes, but it doesn't have enough copies of anything. Like, damn, that sucks. Yeah, okay, now I kind of wish I had the Prohibit instead of this Doomblade, but oh well. I do have the counterspell, so, and I can pretty much take care of almost anything that they equip it to for a little while. So there's that. They're equipping it to Loyal Cathar. That is more than fine because I have no problem double blocking it. I will gladly trade one of my Augur of Boluses to be able to block the Loyal Cathar, so that works out for me. And I'm gonna go ahead and Tragic Slip the Squadron Hawks that my opponent will have basically no threats after I change your Xenix next turn. And double block. Augur of Bolas is probably one of the best creatures to be added to Pauper as of recent. Like, just being a 2-mana 1/3 that has the good possibility of netting you a card is quite strong. A lot stronger than people may think. Another reason why it's good here that I can double block is because I can get value out of my Chainer's Edict, because that's gonna be pretty difficult to do. Preordain. Okay. Let's go ahead and preordain. Pretend I draw into the Chainer's Edict, I suppose. Mole Drifter and Forbidden Alchemy. Well, I don't think we need the Forbidden Alchemy. I kind of need a lot of cards. I could keep both, but I want lands too. Snakies. Let's see here. I guess I could Chainer's Edict and play the Gurmag Angler. I don't really want to do that though, because I want to have Counterspell mana up. But yeah, I think I can keep both. I'm just not going to actually cast the Forbidden Alchemy, but I think it's good to have for later. Go ahead and Chainer's Edict. And then we will attack, I guess. Because, well, it's not like I'm blocking. It's no haste creatures. So yeah, I really don't want to cast Gurmag Angler unless I have 2 blue up. Well, that's kind of a pain that took us, because now my opponent can cast probably 2 things a turn. Yes, they could do that when they have 2 mana, but with 3 Squadron Hawks in hand, it's less likely that they're going to do that. Alright, well. Augur down. And Hawk up. Okay. I'm just going to tap out to play Mole Drifter next turn. I think I can take my time. I really just need to draw Evenkar's Justice. Since I'm at 19, I can Wrath of God a couple of times. And should not be a bad thing. Just need to draw some cards. I know 1 Mole Drifter's on the bottom, so it's a pain in the butt. Alright, well there's my Echoing Decay. So now I can Echoing Decay away the Squadron Hawks. but I don't really know if I should block the Squadron Hawk with the Bone Splitter attached. I'm actually really not sure. I guess I could to kind of make my opponent think that I'm not doing too well. I guess my opponent returns a planes. And hopefully they just cast more Hawks so I can get value out of my Echoing Decay. Be really nice of my opponent to do. Sweet. So I can Doomblade the Course Skyfisher. And the question is, do I want to do that now? Oh, okay, well there's an incentive to put my Mole Drifter in the graveyard. Do I want to Doomblade right now, anticipating that my opponent could have a protection spell? I suppose there is no reason not to. And I'm just going to pass the turn. I don't feel I need to cast Garmeg Angler right now. And I'd rather leave up Echoing Decay, Counterspell, Soul Manipulation, and Forbidden Alchemy if I choose to. Okay, Poetry will land this turn. I guess that's not necessarily true because they played Core Skyfisher last turn, so they could have just drawn land last turn. So they have Hawk, blank, blank, blank. I'm going to let that go through. I don't think I can afford to waste Counterspell on that. Bone Splitter, of course, one of the more broken cards in the Pauper format that not a lot of decks use when they should, I think. Sure. And sure. Could Echoing Decay now, but I think I'm just gonna block. And I want to Forbidden Alchemy. Yeah, I guess I should just Forbidden Alchemy while I have the opportunity, because I might not have the opportunity. Okay, there's Amoncar's Justice. Very good. Alright, let's go ahead and preordain. My window's already been open, that was loud. Okay, so preordain. We see two really good cards. In fact, Augur Bolus is much better now because I have a lot of creatures that are not in the deck, so I'm going to keep both. I'll just draw the Augur next turn so that I don't get tempted to cast it right now. The question is, what do I cast this turn, if anything? I don't think I cast anything, actually. I think I just say go. There's no, like, I can't Chainer's Edict anyway, but there's no point in actually, like, Chainer's Edicting if I could. It's like Soul Manipulation back, that's really, really annoying. Okay. Let's go ahead and just counter that, and return Mole Drifter. The reason to return Mole Drifter is because not only is it a 2/2 flyer that wins the game easier than Augur Bolus, but also it puts 2 cards to your hand instead of possibly just rearranging the bottom 3 of your library, or, you know, getting you 1 card and then forcing you to put another card to the bottom. I also could use some lands right now. Not a lot, but a few. I've laid a few. Do 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 do. Alright, let's go ahead and just do this, just to get the turn over quicker. And then next turn I can cast Garmeg Angler and leave counterspells up, get those onto the board. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7. And I guess I can cast this Augur Bolus too. Sure. Since I can't leave up both counterspells anyway. Oh, sweet. Got a counterspell. And there's our last Augur Bolus. So the only creatures we can draw now are Garmeg Anglers. And it's not a bad thing. We also have 3 counterspells in our hand. If I draw another blue source, I can go counterspell, and yeah, that's pretty much how that works. I wouldn't say my opponent particularly had a bad draw for White Weenie. And I have faced White Weenie once before, and I beat it with this deck. I have a sample size of maybe 8 or 9 games under my belt with this deck now. And I've beaten White Weenie both times. White Weenie can beat you, but it really depends on the version of it. Like, I can comfortably say that the Razor Golem Guardian of the Guildpact version is much harder, but my opponent didn't have a particularly fast draw there, and I was able to get 2 Gurmag Anglers out really quickly. I think that was turn 8, and I had 3 counterspells in my hand. My opponent must have just had nothing. I did an off-camera match with Affinity that I was going to record, but my deck wasn't coming together, and I just got royally smashed. I can definitely say that the Affinity match with this deck is lacking. You can't beat every deck, but I can definitely say to you that from further testing, Affinity is not a great matchup for this deck. But that's neither here nor there. The other versions of the deck that White Weenie can beat you is the Token deck can beat you, although you do have 2 Avantgarde's Justice and the 1 Echoing Decay. But the fact of the matter is that you only have 2 Avantgarde's Justice and only 1 Echoing Decay, and then 3 Chainer's Edicts are just dead. And then you have nothing else to really bring in, so that's a problem, but, yeah. Alright, thank you guys for watching so much. I'll see you back for our second test match, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching.